Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. There's a question. How do I find inner peace amid global conflicts, an Islamic perspective? This is a function of the strength of faith. Right? Finding inner peace, right, is that if one's faith is rooted, right, then the winds and turbulence of life won't shake it. So a, a key to finding inner peace is the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, number one. Right? Number two is mindful devotion. Number three is sometimes it helps to restudy one's beliefs. If you haven't studied them, to study one's belief so one understands how we view reality. That's for a believer, the practical benefit of studying Islamic beliefs is to see with the eye of faith. So if you see with the eye of faith, you realize, قُلْ كُلٌّ مِّنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ, say it is all from Allah. We see with clarity that Allahu khaliqu kulli shay. Allah is the creator of all things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم, the one who has created both death and life to test you. And what's the purpose of the test? أيكم أحسن عملا, which of you is best in deeds. We know we have the delusion that this life is lasting and worthwhile, whereas the reality is ما عندكم ينفد وما عند الله باق. That's what's with you is perishing, and what's with Allah is everlasting. And so knowing those truths gives one's perspective. And then the remembrance of Allah, mindful devotion, strengthen that that faith vision and make it how we see what is going around us. And then it helps have patience because we know inna wa'd Allahi haqq, the promise of Allah is true. So do not be deceived by this worldly life, and do not let the deluder, the great deluder, shaitan, allow you to be deluded. Right? And the key is always remember Allah. الذين آمنوا وتطمئن قلوبهم بذكر الله. Those who have truly believed and whose hearts find comfort in the remembrance of Allah. This is from Surah Al-Ra'd, verse 28, 13, 28. Those who have believed, الذين آمنوا, it's in the past tense because it indicates decisiveness. They have truly believed. And so that's why renew your knowledge of Islamic beliefs. Right? If you studied before, review what you've taken, study it. So you can see with the eye of faith, of conviction, belief. Those who have truly believed and whose hearts find rest, comfort in the remembrance of Allah. ألا بذكر الله تطمئن القلوب. Truly, it is only in the remembrance of Allah that hearts find rest. So remember Allah. And that's in general, remember Allah, but when there's distressful things, take things back to Allah. قُلْ كُلٌّ مِّنْ عِنْدِ رَبِّنَا. Say it is all from our merciful Lord. And right? And you know, the Prophet ﷺ's advice was, لا يزال لسانك رطبا من ذكر الله. Right? That keep your tongue moist with the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Also, don't overconsume news. Very often, it's important for the believer to know what's going on in the world. But anyone of even a modicum of intelligence knows that the purpose of most news is infotainment, not learning. You won't learn anything about what the roots of the Palestinian conflict are just by following the news, simply following Twitter feeds, etc. You know, some Zionists fighting fighting Muslims on Twitter. You get in and you're trading insults, and then someone posting pictures of children blown up or all their buildings destroyed, and you see, oh, there's another crushed person, and keeping tally, like people following the score of whatever football, soccer game, you're following the death count in such and such place, that becomes very morbid. Rather, learn about the wise person finds out what are the causes of a matter. Right? Now we know there are spiritual causes. Read the Book of Allah. It tells us about the categories of people and what drives them. And it tells us about the duties of the believer and the qualities you need to embrace to uphold them. So that gives us, so we should reduce our consumption of news, know what's going on in the world, learn, right? Read books, read things that are in depth to be a person of aql, of fikr, of intellect, a person of reflection, not just like chaff in the air or the the froth that is tossed around by the waves. Right? The believer knows which way they're going, and they sail to that with conviction. Alhamdulillah.
لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله